Good to have each one of you here this morning. This is sounding a little bit odd to me, Jonathan. Some feedback or reverb or something. One of the things that we do with the offerings that are taken in our church is help people that are in need. If you're in need here, if you're a visitor and you've come here and you find yourself struggling with needs just being met, would you contact someone? You can come up to me. We would like to help you with your bills and help you with your rent if you're finding yourself particularly squeezed financially at this time in your life. We want to assist you in doing that. A short time ago, we celebrated Good Friday, followed by Easter Sunday. Good Friday is that day that we celebrate the crucifixion of Jesus. And Sunday, of course, is the celebration of his resurrection. And so Good Friday recognizes that Jesus fulfilled the purpose for him coming to earth. When he said, "It is finished" on that cross, he was referring to salvation, the act of providing salvation, freedom from sin for those that would choose to place their faith and their trust in him. He says, "It is finished," and he breathes his last and he dies. He recognizes that sin had a consequence, and that consequence was a kind of an eternal separation from God. And so what Jesus did, the Son of God came, took on humanity, and he paid the price for your sin and my sin. He died in our place. And so that everyone that would then place their trust and their faith in him, he would exchange their death, separation, for his life. And that's what we celebrate today. That's what baptism is. Baptism is a celebration in the lives of those who have recently given their life to Christ or has given their life to Christ some time ago but never were baptized. And the symbolism is this. The reason that we have that pool out there is when you go under the water, you die to your sin. And when you come out, you are raised to new life. And we celebrate that as a church. And we believe that decision can be made as a young child, or that decision can be made as an older child. And I'm going to baptize a couple that are too old to get into the pool. We don't want to hurt anybody in this process. And so they're going to sit down. I'm going to pour buckets of water on them. But the whole idea is I'm choosing to testify before all of you, and many of you have come as witnesses to what this is going to take place, as a testimony of one who has surrendered their life to Jesus. And we sang about that today. And so I want to read you an account of something that else happened at the crucifixion of Jesus when he died that oftentimes we kind of glance over. It's in Mark 15, and I'm going to start with 31, verse 31. Jesus is on the cross. He is being mocked by the spiritual and religious leaders of the day. And it says in verse 31, "In the same way the chief priests and teachers of the law mocked him among themselves. He saved others," they said, "but he can't save himself. Let this Christ, the King of Israel, come down now from the cross, that we may see and believe." Those crucified with him also heaped insults on him. At the sixth hour, darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing near, they said, "Listen, he's calling for Elijah." One man ran, filled a sponge with wine vinegar, put it to a stick, and offered it to Jesus to drink. "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to take him down, he said. And then verse 37, it says, with a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. And it says, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood there in front of Jesus heard his cry and saw how he died, he said, surely this man was the Son of God. And so what we see here is, as Mark includes it in his gospel, that when Jesus died, when Jesus said, it is finished, he died, it says something happened off in the temple, the place of worship for the Israelites. It said something happened, that there was a great veil, there was a great curtain that separated the two halves of the inner temple. One half was where people could enter into, but then there was this great veil, this great curtain, and on the other half was called the Holy of Holies. And only one man a year was allowed in that place. After elaborate ritual of cleansing, that man went into the Holy of Holies. In other words, he went around the curtain to where the place of God's dwelling was to have been. And there he would offer sacrifice for the sin of the people. And it said that when Jesus died, a supernatural activity took place. That this temple, which was as large as 40 feet tall, so it's as tall as this ceiling is here, was ripped. It was ripped in half. It was torn from the top to the bottom. And it was 4 inches thick. This was not just like a little curtain we have in our houses. This was a 4-inch thick curtain that was woven specifically for the purpose of separating God's presence from man. And we know that that temple symbolized the sin of man that kept him from the presence of God. And what took place when Jesus died is that temple curtain was ripped, and God was proclaiming that the day of separation was over, that man now by faith could enter into that place of God's presence. And the curtain was abolished, and what God was saying is temple worship was over. It was over. And now man could enter into the very presence of God by faith, receiving the sacrifice of his Son, Jesus. That we have now access, free access to God. In my life, that happened in 1979. And I remember well what took place. The curtain was 40 feet tall, 4 inches thick. God tore it in half. And when Jesus said, it is finished, he was proclaiming that man could now go into the very presence of God, because his sin would be forgiven by embracing the sacrifice of Christ on the cross. That's Christianity. That's what Christianity is about. Those that have chosen to follow the teachings of Jesus have come to a place in their life in which they have surrendered their life. I surrender all. We sing it because we want to be reminded. Again, we surrender all. And have been forgiven of sin. And because that forgiveness of sin has taken place, there is nothing that separates us now from the very presence of God. And so we come together once a week and we celebrate that. We celebrate entering in corporately as a church into the Holy of Holies, that place of the presence of God. It was a great experience that took place. God proclaiming now the barrier, the dividing wall was destroyed. And all could now enter in. But there's a choice that has to be made that Becky will talk about here shortly as I do a tag team with her. We have to choose that by faith, say yes to Jesus. We have to say, yes, I accept, I embrace, I repent of my sin, and I embrace that sacrifice that you had for me on the cross. Jesus' sacrifice tore down the wall that separated man from God for all who would place their trust in Jesus. All. He'll never say no. He'll never say that that's pretty bad stuff. I can't forgive that. He always just says yes. He says yes. Jesus talked about it when he walked this earth in Matthew. He says, come all of you who are weary, all of you that are burdened, all of you that are heavy laden, come to me. I'll give you rest. So Jesus extended this great invitation to all of you. And I think all of us, at least sometime or another, or now, fit into that category that says, yes, I'm weary, I'm burdened, I'm heavy laden. And Jesus says, well, then come to me. The veil has been torn. You can come to me now by faith. And I'll give you rest. The writer of Hebrews says it this way. Let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence so that we will receive mercy and grace to help us in our time of need. And so the writer of Hebrews says, let's just, with confidence, approach God. It was never that way in the Old Testament. Only one man a year could dare enter into that place of holiness where God was to have lived and dwelt. Only one. And I've read some accounts where they actually tied a rope around that priest's ankle. And he went in just in case God didn't take his sacrifice. And they drag him out. I don't know if it ever happened, but you see. It was a very serious thing, but now God says we can approach him with great confidence because our sin is forgiven and we have been set free. His mercy. It's not like this.
Who is it?
It's Tom, God.
Tom who?
You know, Tom Dunn from Foothill Vineyard down there on the corner of Foothill Boulevard and San Dimas Avenue.
I know who you are, Tom. I'm God. I know everything. I'm just messing with you.
Okay. Whew, I'm glad. Well, God, I'm coming to you today. I'm coming to you this morning, just as the book of Hebrews says, I'm bringing you my needs. I've got a whole bunch of needs in my life. I've got needs with my family. I've got needs on the job. I've got needs in my own personal life. Just things are kind of hard right now. I just have needs. And the writer of Hebrews says, I can come to you, God, and present these needs to you and find grace and mercy to help me in my time of need.
Tom, I'm kind of busy right now.
Oh.
Why don't you come back in a while?
Oh, you're kind of busy?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time for me right now, God?
No.
Oh. Okay, how much time, Lord? How much time? I'll come back. I'll come back, but how much? How much time?
How about 10 minutes?
Okay. Okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Yes, Tom. What can I do for you?
Well, you said come back, God, in 10 minutes. So I've come back. I've got a whole lot of needs in my life. And the writer of Hebrews says that I could come to you confidently. I can just come confidently into your presence and present my needs and my requests to you, and I can find grace and mercy to help me in my...
Tom.
Yes, God.
Is it really important? I mean, look, I've got North Korea, Iran, and Russia. And then there's this White House. Every tweet is more time.
Oh, well.
Can any of my angels handle it? In fact, I've got this guy, Clarence. He just got his wings.
Well, I guess it's not nearly as important as North Korea or Iran, but I'm just struggling kind of in my marriage, but it's certainly not as important as you straightening out the White House or whatever needs to be done there. And I guess God, I I can just kind of work on it myself and maybe solve the problems myself. Yeah, I'll solve the problems myself. Yeah, I'll just work real hard on my marriage. Yeah, that's what I'll do, God. I don't need you, God. Thanks, but I appreciate it. Thanks for straightening me out, God.
Don't mention it.
That's not the way it is. That's not the way it is. God says the veil has been torn now, all by faith that place their trust in Jesus Christ, have their sin forgiven, and because their sin is forgiven, they can walk right up into the very presence of God, and there he greets us with great confidence and great love and says, come, I've been waiting for you. Come on in. You see? That's why we come to church. It's not a religious thing we do. It's not just some type of thing. We come to church because we are so thankful that the veil has been torn, that Jesus said it is finished, that Jesus paid the price for our sin on the cross, and now by faith we can walk right into the presence of the creator of the universe. Whoa! Now, I don't know what's better than that. I've never found anything better than that at all. So we're going to celebrate those that have chosen to do that, and they're going to walk right into that baptismal pool, most of them anyway. So those that are being baptized, I want you to come up here in front, right up here in front. Stand right up here. Come on, Thomas, come on up. Good, all right. Yeah. Come on, Denise. Yeah. Come on, Lupe. We're waiting. Okay. These are the ones that have signed up. But what we're going to do is something very unique. We're going to baptize them out there. Becky's going to come on up. Becky, come on up. You're on. But when we go out there today, here's what I want you to be thinking about. Because salvation is the instantaneous thing that happens when God sees faith in your heart and your desire to surrender your life to Jesus. Salvation takes that fast. It's instantaneous. God sees faith. He implants his spirit inside of you. You are saved. I'm going to ask out there that if that's what your decision is today, if you choose to embrace Christ along with these others, that you be baptized today. We brought extra clothes, extra shorts, everything. Yeah, it can be just this whole thing like in the New Testament type stuff. But we're going to get dressed. You'll be introduced to all of these people out there, and we're going to change our clothes. And Becky, come on forward. You're going to take over now, and we're going to escort. If you're already changed, you can stay in the service if you've got on what you're going to be baptized in. But if not, we're exiting, and we'll see you out there.
How exciting. You hear me? How exciting. Wow, y'all look good today. Baptism day is always fun, isn't it? All right. Well, we're going to finish up today. Try and keep my hands free because I'm using this mic, so try and do this. But we're going to finish today with a story, passage of scripture, close out, and we're going to head out and have some fun with some baptisms. So, I love baseball. All right? Now, I am a Dodgers fan, okay? Okay, got some Dodger fans okay. All right, no. Hold on. I am going to an Angels game in a couple months, and okay. when I'm in Minneapolis, okay, I'm going to get some friends from Orange County who just moved out there, so we're going to go to a game. But I love the Dodgers. Now, my experience with going to the Dodger Stadium has been several already, but the one consistent person that has been a part of my attending games has been a lady, cute little Latina named Dolores. Dolores has worked with the Dodger organization in the front office for well over 30 years. And she is a really good friend of Angela Ramos. And so when I started to go to the Dodgers games, because Angela sees Dolores a couple of times a week, Angela just in by chance would say, hey, my friend Becky is going to the game, and just in small talk and things like that. Well, last year I got tickets to go to a Dodgers game from my work. It was the first Dodgers game I'd ever been to. And it was the best game because it was the Dodgers and the Cubs. Because the Cubs were my favorite team as a kid, but now I live in LA, so I have to be a Dodgers fan, right? So I was so excited about it. So May 26, 2017 is the first night I get to go to the Dodgers. And I get there, and it's just like, it's full of history. It's so much fun. But before we get there, I'm like telling people, hey, man, I got these great seats from my work. And Angela said, well, I would like to go with you. And I'm like, you would? Because I didn't know she liked baseball. And she was like, yeah, I would love to. So we're going to go to the game on this Friday night. But Dolores had told Angela, because she works in the front office, Dolores knows everybody. I mean, the players, the management. She works right there in the front office. She calls them all honey when she's, like Kenley Jensen, oh, hi, honey. She's just that sweet of a person. But she said, listen, when you get to the game, be sure and come and see me at the front office, and well, I'll just talk to you and show you some things. And I was like, great. So we get to the stadium. I'm so excited. I don't even know where I'm at because I'm just taking in all the history and thinking of all the players that had been there, and it's just awesome. Angela finally gets us. And so now, if you're familiar with Dodger Stadium is, the front office is on club level. And it's where all the suites are at and everything. So our tickets were actually a level lower, but we knew that we had to go see Dolores. So we go to club level, and there's, of course, the security to get through. But Dolores said, don't worry about getting in. Just let them know that you know me. It's like, okay. So Angela and I go up to the line, get in. I'm like a little nervous because I'm like, gosh, I don't know. Is this really going to work? Like, are we really going to be able to, because there's like big security guys on the other side, right? Because this is a door where a lot of celebrities and things come in and whatnot. So we're standing there, and we show the gentleman our tickets, and he's like, oh, well, you're going to want to go down the stairs and down to lowest level. That's where your tickets. She's like, well, Angela's like, well, we're here to see Dolores. And he's like, oh, well, come on in. So we go through, and there's Dolores, and Dolores is just sweet. And she loves Angela. She hugs Angela. But then she's like, okay, now this is what you girls need to do. You go to these different places, check out the stadium, and then when you come back, I'll take you around to the concession stand, and I'll swipe my badge, and you get 50% off of your food. And we're like, what? I'm like, cool. Now listen, that was an enjoyable game, and I truly enjoyed my experience. And the experience that I had that evening was because Dolores just made it so much more enjoyable, to the point where I wanted to go back and back and back. And so I went to several games last year. Well, the second time I go, I'm not with Angela. I'm with a friend. And we go, and it's a Sunday afternoon game. And so Angela, because she sees Dolores a couple times, so she says, hey, Becky's going to be at the game. Well, Dolores says, will you be sure and tell them to stop by the front office? And so Angela tells me this, and I'm like, Angela, I'm not going to do that. I don't even know Dolores. I would feel funny. She's like, no, you have to do it because Dolores will be upset if you don't. I'm like, okay. So my friend and we get to the stadium, and I said, listen, dude. He's a guy. I said, listen, I know that our tickets are at a certain place, and they were actually at lowest level below club. But I said, listen, there's this lady there, and she wants us to come see her, but we have to go to the club level, and, we get 50% off. And she's like, cool, 50% off food, I'll do it. So, and please hear me, I'm not bragging. This is just simply a story. Please hear that. So we get up there, and we get in line, and now Angela's not with me, so I'm getting a little nervous because I see the security guards and stuff, and I'm like, okay. So the security, or the ticket guy comes along, and we show him our phones, and he's like, oh, well, we're so glad you're here, but you're going to want to go back down down the stairs around to Lowe's. Oh, well, that's where she's at. And I said, well, I'm here to see Dolores. And he's like, oh, well, come on in. So we get in to see Dolores, and then I go to the office right there where she's at, and I'm like, Dolores isn't even going to remember me. Like, it was last month. I met her for like 10 minutes. But we get up there, and I look, and I see her face, and I go up there, and I'm like, hi, Dolores. And she's like, hi, I'm so glad you're here. And I introduce my friend, and she's like, hey, let's go over, and I'll swipe my badge, and we'll get you some food, 50% off. So I'm like feeling funny and everything, but she was so welcoming and so kind that she again just made the game so much enjoyable. So I went to the game a couple times more, and the last time then there was a group of us going, and Ange and Greg were in that crowd. But this time we go, and Dolores, of course, says, you guys be sure and stop by the office because, we'll get you 50% off your food, and just say hi. And so the last time we went, I don't remember, it was like close to the fall. We all go up to club level, and like now I'm leading the way, right? Because I'm like, I know this, I got this, right? So I whip out my phone, get the tickets. I'm like, looks at my ticket, he's like, you're gonna want, I was like, nope, we're here to see Dolores. He's like, well, come on in. So we come in, see Dolores. The afternoon was so much fun, or the evening game that we were at, and it was delightful. But knowing Dolores added so much benefit to my game experience. In fact, we were there last night. This is how sweet Dolores is. She came and brought us little dot cupcakes, so we're sitting in Loge level, right? But she like brings in these little, it was so sweet of her because she made the game so much more beneficial to us that it's just a lot of fun. Now, why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because I now have a new best friend. I'm just kidding. She's not my best friend. But I'm telling you this story because of this. There's a passage in Scripture, Matthew 7. And then I read this passage. It's a sobering passage to me because whenever I read it, it helps me consider how I'm doing. But then when I think about people that I've talked to about the gospel and about Jesus. So let's take a look at it. Matthew 7:21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, Jesus says, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. It's a sobering passage. It is probably the most sobering passage to me in Scripture because it reminds me of what Jesus is really all about and what he asks us. This passage is saying literally this, that these people on the day that they die and they face God and they thought they were good with God, and Jesus says, hey, I never knew you. I didn't have relationship with you. He says this. They'll say, but man, I cast out demons in your name. I went and I prayed for the sick, and I did these things in your name. Bring it to our day. It might be like this. Man, I went to church and I gave money and I prayed, God, and people sincerely believe this. Listen, the other night we were out. Where's the crew? We were out, and there's this young lady. Her name was Faith. And I said, how do you get to heaven? And she says, I simply forgive myself, because if I forgive myself, then I'm good with God. And folks, week after week after week, for years, I went out on the streets, and I believe that the biggest lie that our generation and that many have faced throughout the centuries is that you're good enough with God. And that we say today that, well, I attend church. Boom, check that off. I give my tithe. Boom, check that off. Hey, I gave water to a homeless guy. Boom, check that off. Because I'm trying to get in good with God. And Jesus is saying in this passage that it isn't about what you do for God. It is about who you know. And it is about what you do with the name of Jesus when he presents himself to you. Because he is drawing you and wooing you. And he's drawing me and wooing me into relationship with him. You see, I could go to the Dodger Stadium without Dolores knowing me, without Angela ever telling her about me. And I could go up to club level because I know and I've heard about Dolores, and I could go there and I could show the guy my ticket, and he could tell me, no, you're going to want to go down. I said, no, I'm here to see Dolores. And he says, sure, no problem, come on in. And then I get to the desk, and I'm like, hi, Dolores, it's me. I'm so happy to see you. How are you? Hey, I've heard that you can give me 50% off of food. And she would look at me, and she'd be like, I don't know who you are. And I said, no, Dolores, you don't understand. I gave a lot of money to the Dodger organization last year. Okay, I spent a lot of money on tickets, and I've brought friends. I've invited friends to the stadium. Dolores, I fed a homeless guy on the way over here at Union Station, and she says, you know all Dolores has to do? She just takes one look at a security guard, and that security guard would come and take me out. Not take me out, take me away, okay? It's not that bad, okay? But my point is this, that Dolores didn't have a relationship with me prior to me getting to know her. But now Dolores, man, last night I'm like, hi, Dolores, and she goes, Mija, and she gives me a hug, and it was so good to see her, and she made it so much better. But we try and take Jesus and enjoy the benefits of knowing him, peace, joy, love, and all those things that come along with him without simply surrendering and saying, Jesus, I surrender my life to you. I want to be in relationship with you. You see, on that day, the question is, what will you do with Jesus? What have you done with Jesus? See, God, he tore the veil. Jesus went to the cross. He paid it all for you. Scripture says in Romans chapter 3 that there is none that are good, but all will declare their own righteousness. And people will say, I'm good enough to go to heaven. I do this, and I'm trying to rectify my wrongs, but it's not. That's all works, folks. Jesus, it's about what he did on the cross. It's about his work on the cross. And Jesus says in John chapter 6 that the work of my Father is that you simply believe. And that believe is putting full trust in faith in what Jesus did on the cross for you. That on that day that he took your sin, he took your wrong, he took the mistakes you would make. But not only that he took all the hurt and the pain and the suffering and the disappointments. He took it all for you. And he simply says, it's here, receive it. But it's a sobering passage because many on that day. And yet today, Tom talked about the veil that was torn. And that he isn't the God on the mic, is he? He says, come. All who are thirsty, come. All who are broken, come. He is not an exclusive God. All are welcome, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes. Michael believed last November, put his full trust and faith, and now when he dies, there is no doubt that God will not look at all the works that he has done to try and be in good with God, that he only sees his Son Jesus on you. That the same for Ben, and the same for John, and the same for Colleen, and all those others in here that you know God. But the question is, does he know you? I tell people the most important decision that you will ever make. The worship team can come up. We're about done. The most important decision that you will ever make is what you do with Jesus when you hear the message being presented to you. We're all going to die one day, folks. I didn't have permission, but I'm just going to share this because they're going to be okay with it. But there was a gentleman here on last Baptism Sunday. He heard the message. He left. 2 days later, he had a massive stroke. God spared his life. That man is now following Jesus. And he's being healed, and we're going to plea for complete healing. The fact is that one day we're all going to die, and the question is, what do you do with Jesus? I want to speak to the Christian, the one that you know you're in a relationship. How do you know you're in a relationship, man? You don't want to do the things that you used to do, and the things that you didn't want to do, you now want to do. You want to go to church. You want to pray. You want to hang out with other Christians. You got a hunger for the word. You want to be changed and transformed by God, and he's changing you. That's how you know. You see the fruit in your life. But for you, the Christian, I want to ask you, some of you are struggling in your marriages. Some of you are struggling in relationships. Some of you are struggling at work, and it's your work that you're trying to make things work out. And God says to you today, surrender that. Surrender it to me. I know your struggle. I know where you're at. But surrender it to me. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to work it out. Because I'm trying to do a new thing in you. I'm trying to do a new thing in the circumstance around you. And he says, surrender. Just as we sang this morning, surrender. But the person I want to talk to the most today, and people are praying right now, there's a song. It's an old school song by a band named Third Day. And every time I hear this song, it makes me think, and it makes me so grateful. But I want to read the words to you. It says this. What are you going to do when your time has come and your life is done and there's nothing you can stand on? What will you have to say at the judgment throne? Well, I already know. The only thing that I can say is, I trust in Jesus, my great deliverer, my strong defender, the Son of God. I trust in Jesus, blessed Redeemer, my Lord forever. The Holy One, the Holy One. There's nothing I can do on my own to find forgiveness. It's by his grace alone. I trust in Jesus. I trust in Jesus, my great deliverer, my strong defender, the Son of God. I trust in Jesus, blessed Redeemer, my Lord forever. The Holy One. The Holy One. Folks, it's like I can't explain what's going on in here. For the one that you don't know Jesus today, I plead with you to know him. I'm sorry, I'm not like this normally, but I feel so heavy that there's people here today that you've never put your hope and trust in him. He loves you so much. Oh gosh, forgive me. Sorry, forgive me. So for you today, I would ask, simply why not? Why not? Why not surrender to Christ today? I know why. So I have a dear friend a couple weeks ago. She said, I know if I get baptized, then I have to be all in. I said, you get baptized, you can be all in, but God, he'll change you. Folks, the struggles that you're going through, man, he got you. So today, with every head bowed, every eye closed, we're headed to home. Do a little ministry time where we'll get out and have some fun. If you as a Christian here today are struggling and you've heard the word that God says, simply surrender to me, and you just need to do some business with God, that's cool. You can do it in your seat. You can come to the front. You can lay it down, whatever it is, but just do it and allow yourself freedom, serenity, and peace, knowing that God is going to work stuff out. But for the one that does not know Jesus, and you know who you are, you know that you've not committed, you've not surrendered your life today, I just simply want you to take a moment and to consider your choice today with Jesus. And if you're ready, if you're willing, I want you to look up at me. I want you to raise your hand. I want you to make eye contact with me and say, I'm ready to follow Jesus. I'm ready to surrender my life. Real quick, we're not going to do this long. Just take a look. We're just going to go into a time of ministry, just allowing you to do. Just giving somebody time. There's someone here. God is calling to you. Your heart might be racing. You're thinking, man, that's me, but I don't want to be embarrassed. Listen, we're not going to be embarrassing you. This is about you and your choice with Jesus. We're just going to do a bit of ministry time. We're going to give time people to just do some business with God. Let's sing. This is the gospel message. I've done wrong against God. I've made so many mistakes. I've sinned against him. He is holy, righteous, and perfect, and I am not. And because of that, and because he wanted relationship with us, and he wanted us to be able to enter into his presence when that veil was torn, that Jesus came and lived a perfect life. He never lied, he never stole, he didn't do anything wrong, so that he could be the perfect substitute because I could not be. And on dying and being buried and rising again, he conquered sin and death forever, because you and I cannot now, but one day we will because of him. And because of the hope that you place in Jesus Christ, was saying, Jesus, I've tried everything to do good on my own, whether it's a humanism or religion or whatever it is, I just simply say, Jesus, I receive the gift that you so lovingly did on the cross. And friend, when you do, you can know that when you stand before God on the day that you die, many, many, many years from now, that God will look at you and he'll just simply see what Jesus did. I want to know who here is a hardcore Dodger fan. I mean, I'm serious. You raise your hand. You are so hardcore. Are you hardcore? Do you love Cody Bellinger? The rookie of the year last year. Can I give you something? What's your name? Thomas, I'm Becky. Last night was Cody Bellinger bobblehead night. I have what will be a very expensive, unique item to own in many years. I would like to give it to you. Give him a hand, come on. You're welcome. Folks, that is what salvation is. I've never met this young man. He didn't do anything to earn that bobblehead, did he? But yet, he's a cool kid. He's a hardcore Dodger fan. I just wanted to give it to him because we're similar, aren't we? Because that is God's love for you. And so today, my friend, as the song says, that God is a good, good Father, that if you did not yet make that decision to follow Jesus, that know this, that God is calling you, he is wooing you, and he is a good, good Father that will not give up on you, because he is the hound dog of heaven, and he loves you. Folks, we're going to head out. You're released. We're going to go have some fun with water baptism. Listen, if you have not been baptized, I would ask you, why not? Why wait? Get in there. You can get wet. We'll dry you off.